Welcome to Board Game Animal. My name is Justin. We're going to take a look at more of the best games of 2024. We already did our top 10 list of the best games of 2024, and now it's time for 3 more special videos celebrating the games of 2024 and what's to come in the near future.
Special videos? You mean like my top 10 games of 2024?
No. Let's take a look at the best board games of 2024, number 25 through 11. I would like to start by saying that even for the games ranked lower on the list, down to 25, it is a huge compliment. We played so many spectacular games in 2024. They were so outstanding. So, if they made the list at all, trust me, I highly recommend any of these given games. But let's get to it because we're going to try to keep these videos as short and sweet as possible.
Yeah, right. That's what he always says.
Firstly, as a sort of honorable mention, I'd like to give a shout out to both Middle Ages and Nexus Ops, because I enjoyed both of them very much in 2024. But since ultimately they were reprints, I considered them separate from the main list. But I also, without any hesitation, recommend you checking them out. I am absolutely shocked that this one is so low. Let's Go to Japan is actually one of those special things that came out of the pandemic. If you don't know the story, I do highly recommend checking it out. It is a really nice story. It's a fantastic, richly thematic game about planning out your trip to Japan, and it is so detailed and so thoroughly researched, filled with authenticity. It's relaxing, puzzly, and a great implementation of the concept. I am sure we will be seeing more Let's Go games sooner than later. In the footsteps of Marie Curie. It has probably the best cube tower I've seen in ages in this game, and it's a really interesting resource management game where you are trying to do the best with what you're given. Yeah, there's a decent amount of chance involved, but what I like about it is I feel like it keeps you on your toes with the choices you make, and it plays super quickly. All in all, it's a satisfying experience to continue to run your experiments in a race for victory points. Bog is one of the Paco Games games, just a little guy. This is a great little game, and I'm not just saying that because of the Penny Frog bias. It's a head-to-head little 2-player programming game where you have frogs that are hopping across lily pads, and it indeed packs a lot into a tiny little package. I would highly recommend checking out the Paco games in general. I have a lot of gems, but Bog is my personal favorite from last year. Captain Flip is an exquisite family game. If you have kids, I could not recommend this one enough. I think it's a surefire hit. You're simply pulling a tile from a bag and seeing what happens. And you have that one ultimate choice, either take what you've drawn or flip it once and stick with what you get on the other side. And then you have the decision of trying to place it on your board in the spot that you think it would best fit in. Variety in the boards and the smooth simplicity of play adds for a lot of replayability in this great little family game that does a wonderful job in balancing approachability and interesting gameplay. Buttons and Bugs is an impressive shrinking of Gloomhaven. Yeah, of course it's a little bit different, but for me I say it manages to compress that whole experience into one small little package. It still has the creative card play and the vibes themselves of Gloomhaven. The only real difference to me is that the puzzly nature really stands out in this version. It's a solo puzzle ultimately. But if you ever wanted a travel version of Gloomhaven, this is it, and it is done remarkably well. No surprise here, as it always seems there is a Garfield game, or 3, that end up on my best of lists. Shipwright's Redux is a really good, very Garfield-y feeling game. I know that might sound kind of funny and maybe obvious, but what I mean by it is that for me it feels like it's going to be an entry-level game into the Garfield series that I'm going to use with people who've never played any before. For opening folks' world to that entire catalog, I feel like this has a lot of these classic Garfield concepts, fun card play, and the symbology that will kind of set you up and give you a good foundation for playing the rest of the games down the line. All in all here, it's just a good time. You are crafting ships, moving up tracks, a lot of fun. Joyride is a bright, bombastic, but thinky racing game that has fantastic components and rowdy, fun gameplay. If you like racing that has a bit of chaos thrown in, this one is probably for you. So yeah, all in all, Joyride is great. We're really in a bit of a racing renaissance these past couple years in the board game hobby, and I'm excited to announce that very shortly we will be doing our deep dive video comparing Joyride, Heat, and Thunder Road, 3 racing games we love, and why under what circumstances you should play all of them. Truly, we are in an era of fantastic asymmetrical 2-player games. And with a jest of Robin Hood, it's also a spectacular introduction into the world of coin games or GMT games. Sure, the game itself has a lot of rules, but once you know them, it has a simplicity and ease of play, familiarize you with many of these wargame concepts in this really articulate package. And something about it, at least for me, just transports you into that storybook world. Graphic design and the artwork that was chosen for the game is really nice. It has a period piece feel, and if you like Robin Hood, or if you're looking to give coin games a try, this is a wonderful little experience. I'm a big trick-taking fan, and I appreciate when you take the tried and true trick-taking genre and switch it up while retaining ease of entry, but still with clever new card play. Xylotar is very different from the norm, but still delivers that authentic trick-taking experience. Your hand being all spread out face down in front of you, being able to see the suits, have an idea of what you have, but none of the exact specifics unless you start to do process of elimination as cards are revealed. All of that thinkiness and imperfect information and deduction wrapped into a trick-taking game with betting is great and makes for a really interesting time with this great-looking, kind of humorously themed game. Xylotar is one that's going to continue to be hitting our table a lot. I'm a huge fan of solo games. Over the past few years especially, the hobby has delivered some sublime games. And The Last Lighthouse from Button Shy, no exception, and in fact, even more impressive due to the fact that it packs a massive experience in just a few cards in a little teeny wallet game. I find myself becoming a huge Scott Alms fan in general, and if you haven't jumped down the Button Shy rabbit hole yet, you absolutely should. They managed to cram so much amazing gameplay in these little wallet games, and if you haven't played them, I think you're missing out. The Last Lighthouse was my favorite of their games from last year. With very interesting, delicate hand management and card play. We'll be touching on this one a little more in another exciting travel games video that we have coming soon. Cities from Phil Walker Harding is, you guessed it, a city building game from Devere. It has an excellent, balanced drafting mechanism that allows everyone at the table to build their cities from the ground up. There are a lot of great decisions in this game, just from the general gameplay itself, but also in the variable game setups, different in-game goals, add for a lot of reasons to keep coming back to this game. I think this game deserves to catch on in a big way, because the approachable name and the approachable theme could draw the mass public into a game that is of a quality they may not be used to. Cities is wonderful. Creature Caravan delivers that massive Ryan Lockett game experience in a single standalone game session. It has dice rolling, worker placement, interweaving card play from a massive deck of cards, racing across the board, exploring elements, combat elements, economics. There's so much in here, it really feels like a playground of a game that is still magnificently balanced. Works elegantly on a practical level, but is also downright fun. You like the charm of Ryan Lockett's games, and you want something you can sit and have a very deep experience in just one game session, you should really check out Creature Caravan. Gnome Hollow is an absolute gem. It is a really, really good tile placement game that has elements of worker placement, market manipulation, and set collection. It is a really nice, collectively puzzly experience. All players are building off a central shared space of tiles. The art and theme are super charming and draw you in, and the depth of gameplay makes you stay. We had the privilege of interviewing Gnome Hollow's designer Ammon Anderson, where we had a great chat about the game and about the hobby in general. There's a link to that in the description if you'd like to check that out. And make sure you check out Gnome Hollow, because I think this is the kind of game that can really be appreciated by everyone of all different tastes, interests, and depths of being in the hobby. Ooh, more Garfield games. You could never have expected that one, right? Inventors of the South Tigris is an achievement. It is one of the heaviest things from Garfield, and has so many moving parts, I can only describe playing it as an experience. If I had had the time to table this one more, it definitely would have climbed even higher. There is so much crunch to enjoy with this one. If you've been enjoying the South Tigris series, this is such a satisfying conclusion to the trilogy. The three South Tigris games for me have done such an exceptional job at taking these themes that are otherwise kind of abstracted in a Euro game, like cartography, astronomy, translation, and now inventing, publishing, etc. They feel really thematic with how the mechanisms are implemented in the game. You feel like you're doing what the game says you are. It is really ingenious, and I am beyond excited to see how the expansions implement with this one. It's going to be a blast. Number 11, which is really the number 1 of this list if you think about it, is Wyrmspan from Stonemaier. Wyrmspan is absolutely phenomenal. I mentioned that there was a lot of fluctuation in making my top 10 of 2024, and there were many that jumped in and out. And that's because there were a few games at the top of this list that were in heavy rotation with the games in the top 10. As a big fan of Wingspan, I went into Wyrmspan very interested. It exceeded my expectations and in my eyes improved on the original, which I already loved. It brought over a lot of beats from Wingspan, but still somehow felt like its own game. Which is why for me, and I know this is not going to be true for everyone, but for me, I feel like there's room in my collection for both Wyrmspan and Wingspan, between the slight complexity difference and the fact that the themes may appeal to different tastes. My choice on what to play definitely varies on who I'm playing with, but all in all, Wyrmspan was a highlight of 2024 for me. And this is something I'm going to be touching on very soon in a couple other videos. On a serious note, if you hesitated playing Wyrmspan due to any of the commentary from people about the game in and of itself, and you passed on giving it a try, give it a chance, don't do yourself an injustice. It really is fantastic, and continues to grow on my list of favorite games in general. Hi, Editing Justin here. Since recording this video, we had the privilege of sitting down with Jamey Stegmaier of Stonemaier Games and Connie Vogelmann, designer of Wyrmspan, and both chats are really interesting, insightful, and timely, so if you're interested in those, the links to those will be down in the description below as well. Enjoy. And that was number 25 through number 11 of 2024. Again, so many good games and expansions that loaded our shelves in 2024. It's amazing and so hard to make a list like this. If you haven't checked it out, check out our 10 best board games of 2024, best expansions of 2024, our most anticipated games of 2025. The links to all 3 of these will be in the description below. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to keep playing board games like an animal.